the official rollout of Jamaica's digital currency, JamDex, 3 more banks have stated their intentions to launch digital wallets to facilitate mobile transactions. Joining the National Commercial Bank on the platform are JMMB Bank, JN Bank, and First Global Bank FGB. Expected rollout time for both JMMB and JN banks is between December 2022 and April 2023. While FGB has not set a timeline, they are planning to incorporate CBDC services into their GK1 mobile app. In statements made to the press, FGB says they expect revenue growth to be generated by an uptick in the use of the digital products offered in the app, and JN Bank says it will leverage the strength of the Jamaica National Group to provide its users with a seamless solution and will also provide customers with access to complimentary or discounted services offered by the group. Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Friday, June 24, the US dollar sold for an average of $151.89. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $118.39. The pound sterling traded for $186.05, and the euro sold for an average of $162.44. The following reflects the movement of the JSE indices in Friday's trading session. The JSE index declined by 2,163 points to close at over 300,000 units. The junior market index advanced by 25 points to close at over 4,000 units. The combined market index declined by 1,793 points to close at over 300,000 units. And the All Jamaican Composite Index declined by 3,281 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 104 stocks, of which 53 advanced, 40 declined, and 11 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Variable Preference, and 1834 Investments Limited. Stocks declined for Access Financial Services Limited, AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, and Barita Investments Limited. Trading firm were Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited, Community and Workers of Jamaica CCU Deferred Share, and Express Catering Limited. The following companies represent the overall volume leaders: Dollar Financial Services Limited with over 11 million units, Siboney Group Limited with over 3 million units, and Sagicor Select Funds Limited Financial with over 2 million units. In regional stocks, in Trinidad and Tobago, Clico Investment Fund was the only active security with 130 shares. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, 0 securities were traded. In international business, Brazil is one of the world's major agricultural producers and exporters, but it is also facing a hunger crisis worse than any of its recent history. Record inflation of more than 11% a year has tripled the price of staple food products and increased poverty levels. Al Jazeera News has the report.
Lines of hungry people waiting for a meal have doubled in Brazil during the past 2 years. 33 million people can barely eat in a country that produces enough food to feed 1/10 of the world's population. Alessandra Pereira, mother of 5 and unemployed, is one of them. She lost her job at a gas station during the COVID-19 pandemic, but could rely on government handouts.
Now the handouts and donations have dwindled, and inflation has doubled the price of staple food products like rice.
In Rio de Janeiro, one of Brazil's richest cities, the crisis is visible. During the first 5 months of this year, the number of people qualifying for government help to feed their families has increased by 100% compared to the same period in 2021.
It's the worst backlash in 3 decades. When Brazil first started its campaign to fight hunger, we're now back on the United Nations hunger map, which we had managed to leave in 2014. That's why Rio's government is planning to open 55 new soup kitchens this year.
This soup kitchen will be handing out 200 meals every day. Pereira is one of the lucky ones. Another 100 families have applied for aid, but there aren't enough resources. Recovered addict Carlos Fonte works as a chef in a restaurant in the Babilônia slum. His only son was killed in a shootout with the police.
eu vi que a pandemia estava voltando.
I found a way to cure my sorrow. With the help of people from our neighbourhood, we have reached out for donations and are cooking meals for those who are facing a much worse situation than we are.
The situation is so serious in Brazil that experts are comparing hunger in Latin America's largest economy to that of some of the world's poorest countries.
Foi que a insegurança alimentar no Brasil aumentou 4 vezes mais.
Food insecurity in Brazil has increased 4 times more than the average global rate. The pandemic, the rise in fuel prices, and record inflation of more than 11% a year are a part of the problem. But that doesn't explain why Brazil's doing so badly, despite being a major agricultural producer and exporter.
Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro, who is up for re-election in October, is pushing to increase government handouts until the end of the year. Meanwhile, the poor from the Babilônia slum in Rio are helping the poorest with their prayers and by sharing what little they have. Monica Yanaki of Al Jazeera, Rio de Janeiro.
In market data for oil, oil prices hedged higher in a volatile session as investors waited for any moves against Russian oil and gas exports that might come out of a meeting of leaders of the Group of 7 G7 nations in Germany. Brent crude futures rose 46 cents to $113.58 a barrel, and West Texas Intermediate crude was at $107.82, up 20 cents. That was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.